All right, so for reading and history this week, we're going to be reading the Gettysburg Address. We're also going to be making some short speeches for class, and so I'm just going to go over what the Gettysburg Address is. We're going to read it, and then we'll build our own little speech. Here we go. Words to know. Address, commit, conceived, dedicated, detract, devastation, devotion, inspiring, parish, proposition, resolve, and secession. All right, so in order to meet our A for today, we need 5 facts. So I'm going to start maybe numbering them, so when I go to write them in my journal, it won't take me any time at all. And I might have a connection or two that I add as well. Or question. Brother against brother. Fighting between brothers and sisters is so common that we don't think twice about it. But imagine being at war and fighting on one side while your brother or sister is fighting on the other side as your enemy. The Civil War, American Civil War, was a long fight between two sides of the country. Soldiers sometimes knew their enemy because men from the same town and even the same family would fight on opposite sides. Many of the officers had trained and fought together on the same side in earlier wars. Some were close friends who found themselves on opposite sides for the first time. I'm going to underline this as my first fact. This is people from the same town, even same family, fight to the death. I mean, you think about it, to the death. I mean, they would kill each other. That's crazy. The Union was made up of the northern states, and the Confederacy was the southern states. From 1861 to 1865, the Civil War raged, and 620,000 men died on it. Oh my goodness. Second fact. One of the war's most famous battles was the Battle of Gettysburg. Lewis Armistead and Winfield Scott Hancock were close friends before the Civil War. During the war, they served as generals on opposite sides. Both were wounded at Gettysburg. Hancock lived, but Lewis Armistead died. On the morning of the first day of this battle, July 1st, 1863, Union soldier Rudolph Schwartz saw Confederate prisoners being led away. To his surprise, he recognized one of the enemy prisoners as his own brother. The Schwartz brothers hadn't seen each other since leaving Germany for the United States. The two men hugged, happy to see each other. They parted when the Confederate brother was taken away, never to meet again. Rudolph was killed in action that afternoon. How did we end up at war, with brothers fighting against brothers? Why is the Battle of Gettysburg famous? I don't know about you, but I'm going to write this. No matter what kind of war, I could never fight against one of my sisters and put them in danger, like to possibly kill them. So that's going to be my connection. President Lincoln and the Civil War. So they show a map up here, and these are territories that were open to slavery. These are territories that were free states, and these are territories that were, these were territories that were slave states. These were territories that were free. And they might talk about that. The color of this one, I mean, you can't see very well, so I'll have to maybe get the other picture for that. At the time Abraham Lincoln ran for president in 1860, slavery was legal in 15 southern slave states and illegal in 18 northern free states. Many slaves tried to escape north to become free. Lincoln was against allowing slavery to spread beyond the southern states. This upset lots of people in the South. They believed that if Lincoln became president, he would eventually end slavery in all the states. Many Southerners made their money from farming, and huge farms called plantations required a great deal of labor. Southern plantation owners thought using slaves was the best way to fill that need. They thought ending slavery would destroy their whole way of life. Really, I think this is greed. Because really what they would have had to do is just pay them. But they thought of the slaves as property. Things were different in the North. Northern states had lots of factories. Those factories did not use slave labor. Many people in those states thought that slavery should end. And they say many because that's not everybody up there thought there shouldn't be slaves. They just didn't want slavery to tear the country apart. In 1860, Abraham Lincoln was elected president. In the months that followed, 11 slave states declared their secession from the United States. They no longer wanted to be part of this country. Instead, they formed the Confederate States of America. So down here, this is really important. The slave states did not join the four states did not join the Confederacy: Missouri, Kentucky, Maryland, and Delaware. But part of the Confederacy was Alabama, Arkansas, North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, Georgia, Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee, Texas, and Virginia. It says West Virginia turned the... What does it say? Oh, West Virginia formed during the Civil War. It is the only state to have formed by seceding from the Confederate state Virginia. So that's interesting. So West Virginia actually was not a part of, or did not want slavery, but Virginia did. I'm going to star that part because I'm going to write that as my fourth fact. So far, I have 4 for 5. Lincoln took office as president in March of 1861. The two sides went to war a month later. Soldiers who fought on the Confederate side were called rebels, or Johnny Reb. The southern states fought hard for independence. The northern states supporting Lincoln and the United States were called the Union because they were dedicated to keeping the country together above all else. So this part right here, this answers to why they wanted to keep the United States together more than anything. Their soldiers were nicknamed Yankees or Yanks. Many Northerners wanted to end slavery and fought passionately in what they called the War of Southern Rebellion. Men, and sometimes boys, put on uniforms. Union was blue, Confederate gray, and left their jobs, farms, and families to fight. Many thought the war would only last a few weeks or months. By the time of the Battle of Gettysburg, Lincoln had been president for 2 years. Confederate General Robert E. Lee had won many Civil War victories. He had led troops north to Pennsylvania through Virginia and Maryland. Yet despite Union losses, Lincoln had kept the nation together. So right now, what I would do is I would make sure I get my history journal out. So it's been just a little bit of time. Now my history journal is in the back. And I'm going to make sure that when I put my facts in here, so this is what I'm going to model for you guys. So if you say, I don't know what I should write, I don't know what I should do, you are more than welcome to copy me because I'm taking my ideas from the story that we just read together. So they might be different if you wanted to pick different facts or different connections, but yours can be the same as mine. So I'm going to go ahead and start. Today is September 21st, 2020. And the title of the story, again, I cannot stress this enough. Please spell the words correctly if they are on your paper. The Gettysburg, capitals at the beginning of the word in the title, address, which is another way to think of a speech. So the Gettysburg Address, I'm underlining that as my title. All right, so for my first fact, I am going to put number 1. Families and friends from the same towns fought That's an O. I don't know what it looks like, but that's an O. Fought. And I'm going to put in capitals, to the death. Over slavery. Let me erase this. During the Civil War. Period. So I have my capitals at the beginning. I have my capital right here for Civil War because that's the title of it. And I have my end mark. So I'm going to get 2 points for this one. And now I'm going to start my second one. Now my second fact is the Civil War. I'm just actually going to put in my own. The Civil War claimed 620,000, and I'm going to put a plus over here, lives. That's insane. Crazy to think that people were willing to fight over something like slavery to the death. Now it says, I'm looking back over my paper, and the other part was, my question would be, or my connection was, I could never fight to the death of a family member. Number 4. So I have a capital and an end mark there. And I have a capital and underlined my end mark there. So I have 2 points for each of those sentences. So I need 2 more. My next one that it said in here that I wanted to underline was that Lincoln, President Lincoln, was dedicated, and I'm going to copy this word out of there because it's means that he was not willing to quit. He was devoted. So he was dedicated. I'm going to put a wiggly mark because that's a vocab word. Dedicated to keeping the USA together. That's huge. That's why he fought for it. And then the other thing I wanted to put was a question. So this right here, these are facts. This is a connection. So these are facts. This one's a connection, and now I actually have a question. Why would someone want to fight and kill their family and friends? Question mark. Is slavery worth it? I don't think so, not at all, because I don't think slavery is right. But that's just my wonder, like, why you would be willing to fight friends and family. All right, so I've got capitals and end marks, and I have my 2 points. So my total score is a 10 out of 10, so I got an A+, and hopefully you were able to work on this with me, and you do too.